All right, here we go. Salute to NBA Nation on this Wednesday afternoon. Another edition of the NBA Report. CP the Franchise here. My guy Alex Ritaros on the other side. On today's episode, action-packed episode, we're going to talk about the rumble in the Bay, man. Warriors and Timberwolves getting it popping before the game even started. Draymond Green going into his WWE bag. It was crazy last night. You had some more stuff going on between the Lakers and Grizzlies. The Clippers lose again. Mark Jackson out on his day off. Gets fired on his day off by the Knicks. We got to talk about that. But first, we're going to kick things off with the Zach Lavine news, man. According to The Athletic, Zach Lavine open to a trade from the Chicago Bulls. So I wanted to bring on my guy, nobody better to talk to about this situation than the host and CEO of Chicago Bulls Central. You could also catch him on Chicago Bears Central for you football fans. My guy Hayes is in the building. Hayes, how you feeling, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Honestly, I'm not as surprised by a lot of Bulls fans by this trade stuff. So
yeah. Let's talk about it, man. You got the Bulls right now sitting at 4-7. Season off to a rocky start. There was rumors of players only meeting just after the first game, right? Unheard of. But to pull this thing back with the Lavine era, it's year number 7. It's been 3 years since they made the Vucevic trade, going all in on Vucevic. They got DeRozan in that process. Hasn't been working out, man. And now we're hearing that he's open for a trade. When you heard that, because I feel like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like all the Lavine trade rumors leading up to this point has been kind of one-sided, where it's like the Bulls are listening, the Bulls are calling, or other teams are gauging the Bulls. But we didn't hear that Lavine was open to it. So what do you think about that when you hear that he's kind of waving a white flag a little bit?
Yeah, I think that it makes sense. And it came out today too that he's never gotten over Billy Donovan benching one in a game a year ago when he was 1 of 14 from the field. He had scored 4 points. So that it's a little bit of thing. And I think it's all maximized by not winning, right? Like if you're winning, you got to look over the bad. But this team coming into the season, making the changes that they made or lack thereof, doubling down on Billy Donovan. And something that a lot of people haven't reported on, talked on, Michael Reinsdorf, who's basically running the day-to-day operations for the Chicago Bulls, has always been reportedly not the biggest fan of Zach Lavine. So it kind of, when you bring all that together, it all makes sense. Now you're also hearing that some of the players as well are kind of over Zach Lavine and feels like he doesn't really hold himself accountable. And it kind of makes sense. I feel like every player, every team, every coach, it runs its course eventually, right? If you're lucky, you're able to keep a player for the majority of their career. It's all sunshine and rainbows. And eventually you have to come to a situation and realize it's just not working out. And that's kind of naturally where this has progressed to. It went from listening to deals to turning those deals down to okay, well, do you got a little bit more to offer us? No, okay, we don't want it. So now it's the point where with the losing that we've done, for the large part, we had a 35-game stretch when Lonzo Ball was there where it looked like things were going to turn around. But for the most part, out of the 7 years Zach Lavine's been here, has been a lot of losing. So it makes sense.
Definitely has been a lot of losing. I think to your point, without Lonzo Ball, Hayes, that's where it really went south, because the beginning of that season when you got Lonzo, you talk about Caruso and everybody else with DeRozan, that team was on fire. But not having a guy who's a connector, could keep everybody kind of intact offensively, has really hurt the Bulls. But you mentioned Zach Lavine's done a lot of losing over there as well. Part of it's been him, part of it's been the team. Who would you actually place it more on? Because I feel like it's just been a revolving door since Lavine has been in Chicago.
I mean, I put it mainly on both front offices. He's seen 2 front offices and 3 head coaches in his time here. And I think when you look at the front office, that Garpax, before they left, they put Jim Boylan in place, and he just was a terrible head coach. He killed the momentum. He killed the development. He killed the confidence of a lot of players there. And we had the situation where Lavine publicly in a game told him F him, everybody saw it. And so then you bring in, you fire him, you bring in a new front office, you bring in Billy Donovan. He has some issues with Billy Donovan here just over the last year or so. But then at the same time, it's just you haven't been able to really have a solid team around it. When we were drafting Wendell and Laurie and Kobe and all these players, they were just drafting, hoping something would stick. It really wasn't a plan in place or a thought process between how the players were going to fit together. So that led to what it led to. And then you have this brief glimpse, and then the front office now that we have has admittedly rebounded terribly since Lonzo Ball went down. It's like they saw that was the version of the team that they envisioned. It worked to a degree. Lonzo went down, and now they've been trying to get back to that point. And when you look at Lavine and I try to look at everything from both sides, right? And then when you look at it from Lavine's standpoint too, he's about to be 30. He's approaching 30, and he hasn't done much winning in his career. He hasn't been on the best team. Some of it's his fault. Some of it's the team that was constructed, but he probably just wants to win now.
Do you think he's more of a 1 or 2 type player, or even a 3rd type option on a team?
I think Zach Lavine could be a really good 2. Ideally, if you can make Zach Lavine your 3rd best option, then your team is on point. But I think ideally Zach could be a really, really good 2, especially if you bring him with a strong-minded head coach and a strong culture already. I think he'd be solid.
I'm with you, Hayes. I think it just comes a time where it's just time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we as Knicks fans, we saw that during the Carmelo era. Raptors fans saw that with DeMar DeRozan. That's why Ujiri went out and upgraded and got Kawhi Leonard and walked into a championship. It just comes a time where the process has run its course and you realize that you can no longer go any further with that guy. And it's not to put it all on Zach Lavine. Obviously, you just talked about a multitude of issues that has plagued this Bulls organization, far removed from the Jordan and the D Rose, Tom Thibodeau era, those eras, far removed from that. But it just seems like as we watch this guy over the career, a walking bucket, no question about it. Just dropped a 50-piece this year, but it just doesn't seem like he can consistently make winning plays for his team, be that guy that, it's hard to be that guy. There's only but so many guys that you can really build a team around in the NBA. And I feel like Zach Lavine, he's going to fall into that group of players where he's got to now go somewhere where he's either the secondary or the tertiary option, where he can just focus on what he does best, which is score.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like Zach Lavine, I think before the season before we got DeMar and Lonzo, Zach Lavine averaged, he was the most efficient. He was close to a 50, 40, 90 player. He was like off by like 2% on the field goal, but close to 50, 40, 90. The most efficient season he had. And we've seen his usage rate and everything go down since then. And that's not to say that it's all on him. It should go down when you're on a better team, right? You shouldn't have to be used as much. But Zach Lavine right now is having the worst field goal shooting percentage of his career, the worst true shooting percentage of his career, and the second worst PER since his rookie year. So he also has to hold the bag on that a little bit, that his own accountability. So
then how do you move a guy like that with a $215 million contract that he just signed this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, it was last offseason. This is the second year of the deal. But
that's right.
I think that, people, if somebody wants to bring in Zach Lavine, it's because they understand what he does well. I think now there's no more, it's the potential's done, right? I don't think anybody's going to sell themselves on the potential of Lavine. But if you're a team like the Lakers who just, the Lakers always want somebody, right? If you're a team like Miami that's looking for somebody to pair with Jimmy, if you're a team that kind of, and I think the Heat culture specifically, like they could get really frustrated at Zach, especially lack of defense. But if you have that culture already built in and you know what you're getting in Zach, I think you want him because of the things he does well, and you think you can maximize on that. I don't think you're looking at Lavine to necessarily save your franchise. You're looking at him to add kind of a sprinkle on top of what you've already been cooking.
Al, who's your landing spots for Lavine, man? Who do you like? What teams do you like?
I think it should be Philly, man. I think Philly with Maxey and Embiid being that off-ball scorer that you need outside of just having Maxey. Just you allow Maxey to still be that creator. Lavine has shown that he can play off-ball efficiently. I think that's the team. If you want to talk about Philly going to another level, like they're playing really well right now. If you want to give Boston, even Milwaukee, a run for their money, I think Lavine, because over there, he could be that third option, right? Max has already solidified himself as that number 2 guy. Embiid, obviously MVP caliber player. He's number 1. Lavine on that team, you make his life 10 times easier, man. Who do you feel, though?
I like Philly, especially at the pace that Nick Nurse is playing in. I think that's a pace that a guy like a Lavine could excel in. I do worry about a backcourt defense with both he and Maxey, but I do like Philly. Again, slotting him in there as that tertiary option, can play off ball, off of Maxey, off of Embiid. Again, no pressure. Take the pressure off of him. I think that'd be an ideal role for him. I think the Heat will get him right because there's one thing that, Riley Spo, they won't settle for lackluster performances. Like, you got to come to play. You got to come ready, come in shape, and be ready to go. And so I have to think that on Zach Lavine going on potentially his third tour or with the new team, that he may look at the Chicago situation and say, look, like, this is it. You know, I want to reclaim my rep. I want people to see, like, yo, I'm a bucket, but I can be a champion. I can be a winner as well. And I think Miami could bring that out of him. I think the Lakers makes a ton of sense. They need him. They need him the most, because the over-reliance on LeBron James is only going to get them nowhere fast. Right? Like, you're going through an 82-game schedule with relying on LeBron James and Anthony Davis to stay healthy and stay effective. That's a tall order, especially how stacked the West is right now. You get a Zach Lavine in there. LeBron could go back on his load management, the ideal load management time for him. You have a bucket out there that can go out there and get his own. If AD gets hurt, yeah, that'll be tough, but you still got some production there. I think the Lakers of the three would be the most perfect fit. I think it'd be the most. Plus, it's a clutch warehouse, right?
Yeah.
This is.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Sports. That's it.
Is Reeves going in this deal? Because does he have the poison pill in his contract since he signed an extension?
Well, I would ask Hayes, what do you think Chicago want? Would they take Reeves and his contract back on, or are they looking at, not trying to commit to salary and really trying to tear this thing down completely?
From what we've heard, and we haven't heard any changes, is that they do want a young, promising player. They want either a really high-level young player, or they want 2 first-round picks and then salary cap filler. I think Reeves could fit in what they want, right? And keep in mind, too, Zach Lavine has a 15% trade kicker in his contract as well. So even if it does end up turning into a poison pill deal, they may have to include some other things, but I wouldn't knock Reeves coming in. I don't know if it's not perfect, right? You're not saying, hey, we got Reeves, we're good. I think also you look at the Lakers pick, if I'm not mistaken, they have a 2028 and 2030 first-round pick they can offer. And the reason why that may work for the Bulls is that both those picks come after Lavine's contract is off the books. So you may be hoping and playing the factor of, okay, that team could be completely done by that point, and then we could reap the benefits of having lottery picks from a team that just got done going on their run, and now we get to reap the rewards of that.
Yeah, they may be in the best rebuild spot in terms of how valuable those future picks will be.
Yeah,
but Philly, I mean, it seems like it's back wide open, right, in terms of their contender window. And then also, Maury's goal was to have ample salary cap for the next offseason. Not sure if Lavine is the target there to fill up that salary cap with. So that'll be interesting. Al, Knicks fans were kicking the tires on this thing last night. I was getting a whole bunch of DMs.
Last night. It's still going on today.
Well, yeah, for sure. CP, what do you think? What do you think? What should we do? I've wavered on this. I was first out. Then I was like, after they lost to the Heat, I'm like, yeah, I'm tight. I want revenge. But like, I don't. It's price depending, man. But I have a hard time doing it, man. Because I just don't think he is the last piece to the puzzle. Like, I just said, like, there's only but so many guys you could truly build a team around. Like, I look at Zach Lavine, I put him in the same bucket as a Julius, right? Like what Paul George was with the Pacers, what Harden is. Like, great guys, great players, all-star caliber players, incredible talents individually, but from a team perspective, I think we need more than that. I just think the Knicks need more. From a player that can make their teammates better, from a playmaking standpoint, and also on the defensive side, being a force on that end. I don't see him pushing the needle for us.
The thing I always look at it with is like Zach. If you look at Zach Lavine and RJ Barrett, they the exact same player, no, but they have similar ceilings. So, like, to me, if Zach Lavine were to go to the Knicks and you do send a package of RJ Barrett and first-round picks back, I don't really think that ups the ceiling at all for the Knicks, right? That doesn't change very much for the Knicks. So,
yeah,
if you listen to Scott Perry, when he was on ESPN yesterday, he sounds like a Zach Lavine type player is what he's thinking is the last piece for that team. He's like, just another guy who could score out in isolation. You don't need some superstar. He thinks someone in that tier to pair with RJ, Brunson, and Randall is what you need. But for me, it's like the money doesn't add up, man. That's a lot of 215. That's a lot. But I was asked this, like, Oh, or so, and some people said, I would trade Lavine, and someone was like, throw RJ in that. Then they retracted that. They're like, no, actually, I like the way the team's cooking right now. Don't mess up the chemistry. Others are asking me for the other player if the Bulls do decide to break it all down, and saying DeRozan, which love DeRozan. We don't need another guy on the Knicks who operates 15 feet in. We need a guy who stretches the floor. We don't need to watch. We're going to be watching like old school basketball. Everyone's like just taking mid-range jumpers or trying to get to the rack.
Yeah.
Like DeRozan, though.
I mean, Hayes, I got to think, obviously, with the Lavine stuff coming out, it seems like it's everybody's on deck here between, obviously, DeRozan being an expiring contract, Vucevic, Lavine. Seems like this could be a complete fire sale here.
Yeah, so I'm hearing conflicting things. So we initially heard that, right? And that would make sense. You trade Lavine, that's probably what you're getting the most back for. You see what you get, and then you go on and try to supplement whatever you get from Zach with going ahead and moving DeMar and seeing if you get another young piece or whatever back. But then it came out today that like the Bulls are interested in holding on to DeMar if they do trade Lavine, but DeMar wants to see the direction of the team. And to me, that makes no sense. And that's what's so frustrating about the Bulls front office right now. They can't pick a direction and stick to it. You can't move Lavine and then say you want to re-sign 34-year-old DeMar DeRozan for what? That's the thing that I worry about is going to be the downfall of this front office, is that they are terrified of just being bad for 3 years, right? I don't know. I would hope that they go ahead and move DeMar. And then at that point, Alex Caruso too. I love Caruso, but you want to get the most assets back, do the OKC method as they call it. But it really seems like this front office just is having a bad time committing to just being bad for 3 to 5 years. So,
and that's the direction you want this team to go, just be bad for 3 to 5 years?
Like
go through the draft?
Ideally, no. I would have rather this team actually made a move this offseason, whether it been DeMar, whether it been Vooch, before it seemed like we have to make a move and try to bring in talent to at least maybe float around the play-in and get some assets back, and then you can see develop your young pieces, things like that. But where we are right now, I just don't know if I realistically see with what offers are out there for a deal to be good enough for the Bulls to try to up their ceiling at all. So the best way to do that is to be bad for a few years.
And I just have to ask, what was the move that you wanted to see this offseason to help the Bulls take that next step forward?
To me, I would have explored what DeMar DeRozan was worth. I think at that point in time, DeMar DeRozan's value this offseason was way higher than what it is now. He's also shooting some of the worst splits of his career. And I think you had some opportunities with signing trades of some other things with what we had in disabled player exception for Zoe. We still just have sitting there we haven't used. So it's not that I had necessarily targets in mind. I think like a Trey Jones, things like that would have helped the Bulls a little bit more with what this core was, but they really just kicked the can down the road. They brought in Javon Carter, Torrey Craig, 2 really good role players, but you try to sell that on now we feel like we can be a playoff team when you haven't done much. And that was my overall problem with this team.
As for assets, it feels like you guys are okay. Like you got this year's draft. You don't have one for next year, but after that, you got your first rounder for the next couple of years. You guys seem fine.
We have all the first one. And technically our pick next year is top 10 protected. So if the Bulls were to go just be really bad, there's a chance we get to keep that as well. So
once again, we are talking to my guy Hayes from the Chicago Bulls Central podcast. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Let's shout out some people in the chat, man. I want to shout out my guy, My 2 Cents. We got JJ in here, John Talento, TM, Demario Montague. What's good? Jaron Ellenthal, salute. He said they should rebuild. Shout out to my guy, Jay Boogie, Al, $20 super chat from the General. Jay Boogie says Sixers make moves before the Knicks. It'll be a major blow, but I'm down here in the A tailgate tour here to DC, then Charlotte. All right, so Jay Boogie's going on a road trip with the rest of the KFTV World Warriors. He said the Hudson restaurant right next to Phillips Arena down there in Atlanta says they're asking, where's my brother? I said he's live right now in the NBA report. So salute to everybody watching at Hudson restaurant. Salute to our Knicks fans down there in the A, getting it popping. Knicks and Hawks getting back into action tonight at 7:30. Final one for you, Hayes. Patrick Williams situation.
Oof.
Looking for a new deal. He wants the bag. What have you thought about it?
By the way, seems like a very nice guy. Got to meet him at Summer League. Seems like a very down-to-earth guy.
Yeah. What have you
nice.
seen from him this year, and what do you think about the prospects of an extension?
He's going to get an extension. I don't think this front office is going to let him go without, getting something done. And I think he's going to have to realize that big money deal, that bag, it ain't coming. You're going to have to deal with I don't know, a Ziploc bag, because you're not getting a money bag. That's not coming for you, brother. And I think ultimately Patrick Williams is a combination of failure of a coach, but also his own personal lack of aggression. Like, to me, the feeling that I get from Patrick Williams, and I hope at 22 years old, he still has time to grow out of it. But Patrick Williams doesn't come off to me as somebody who loves basketball. He comes off as somebody who's been good at basketball, so he's been able to do it. But I don't get the feeling that Patrick Williams loves basketball. And until that happens, I think we're always going to see this inconsistency from Patrick Williams.
And that was your number 4 overall pick, man.
Haliburton and Devin Vassell were right there. Right there.
Seems like the same thing the Knicks are saying.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right, man. Man. Well, Hayes, great job. Good luck. We're going to continue to monitor the situation. And if anything goes down, we want you right back here in the NBA report, man. Definitely appreciate the time. Let the fans know where they can find you. Drop your social media handles and let them know where they can find you, bro.
Absolutely. If you want to follow me personally, you can do so at CEO Hayes. If you want to follow my podcast, it's Bull Central Pod on every social media platform and Shy Bear Central on every social media platform. Same handles on YouTube as well if you guys want to check out the channels.
Absolutely, man. My guy Hayes from Chicago Bull Central. Make sure you guys check him out. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. Another edition of NBA Report. But we got a lot to talk about. So to Knicks Fan TV, Jalen in the chat. We got a lot to talk about, man. Because, there was so much criticism about the in-season tournament.
Oh, man.
Man, we don't need this. Well, what's going on here? What an action-packed night we had with the in-season tournament, man. And we got to start it off in the Bay.
Oh, boy.
Because you had the Timberwolves and Golden State. The doubleheader, a lot of these teams have on their schedule now where they play the same team on either back-to-back nights or they skip a night, get a night rest, and play again, which I kind of like because it kind of has that element of like a mini series to it. I kind of like that.
For sure. It has that playoff series, man.
Exactly.
And even Steve Kerr said it, man. You listen to Steve Kerr, he's like, the thing is, like, in a playoff series, right? You play them once, now you got to play them again. What's the adjustments, right? To get you ready for that. Knicks had that with the Cavs. We're gonna have that with the Bucks when it gets close to Christmas time. I like that, man. I'm with you. I like the chippiness that comes with it. And boy, did it get chippy.
It got chippy. So something clearly must have happened in the first matchup on Sunday, because before we even got into any action, you have Jaden McDaniels and Klay Thompson, of all people, getting into it. Jerseys getting grabbed. One getting thrown, the other one getting a little forearm shiver. Now here comes Rudy Gobert.
Oh my God!
He kind of puts his arm around Klay Thompson, trying to get him off of Jaden McDaniels, and out of nowhere, straight from Monday Night Raw, comes Draymond Green, runs in, beelines for Gobert, and puts him in $1 million dream in a sleeper hold, chokehold. Had his teeth grinning and everything, veneers all out. All right, that's how hard he was trying to choke this guy out. And there we have it. Action at the in-season tournament, man. I loved it. I loved all of it. All 3 players got ejected. This is what I want to see, man. Let's start up a rivalry. Let's get it.
Yes.
That's what I'm here for, man. Let's go.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, man. Enough with this chummy stuff throughout the NBA where you all like dapping up. Oh, man, I'll catch you at dinner later tonight. Good game.
Yeah.
I like that the Warriors and the Grizzlies got some fire beneath it. I like that you got Mavs and the Suns because of Luka and D-Book over there. And then you also now got this, man. This is amazing. This is what the NBA needs. This is the passion, not what McCutcheon said, saying, you're trying to hold that. This is what I'm signing up for, man. Okay. This is what I want to see. By the way, I want to point out, I love how the score is 0-0. It's only 10 minutes with 10 minutes still left in the first quarter that this all unfolds.
I loved it. The game just started and it started to pop off. And it was so cool because it was on the heels of, as you said, Monty McCutcheon, NBA head of referees development and training, when talking about, he was asked about players getting technicals or getting ejections for taunting technicals, right? Some I disagree with vehemently. Giannis was tossed from a game last week for doing that. It's ridiculous. Anthony Edwards in the game against Golden State. Got a technical for that when he bashed on Dario Saric. Now, what Monty McCutcheon said was, what we do know historically is that taunting gone unchecked leads to altercations. It leads to increased physicality, and it leads to more, to put it kindly, passionate play. Well, this is what we want. We want passionate play. Bring back rivalries. Bring back 90s basketball, man. I mean, listen, these guys are all chummy. We're not going to see guys flying into the stands like, what Charles Oakley used to do back in the day. Draymond's your closest thing to it. But we want to see this type of passion. And for the NBA, if you're going to go out there and market the game and market this in-season tournament, you want to put out new courts and new jerseys, the players have to match the energy. This is the energy we want to keep. This right here.
Oh, CP, what's a documentary on a big streaming platform right now? Malice in the Palace, right? Oh, there you go. Wait. Oh, yeah. Doesn't that garner more attention to the NBA? Yeah. Embrace it, guys. This is a physical sport. There's contact. Yeah. Allow the rivalries, man. Allow it.
Just allow it. Just allow it. Look, we're not going to get another Malice at the Palace. I mean, the parties
not going to happen.
We're so far off the rails. That was a rarity. You know what I mean? That was like a light occurrence. But this is just two teams, passionate teams. Golden State, took umbrage to Minnesota, kind of dog walking them in the first matchup. Ant-Man was cooking. So they wanted to clap back and show themselves in front of their home fans. I love it. You got to let it go. I don't think any of those guys should have been ejected last night. I don't think any of them should have been ejected.
Well, if we're going to break this thing down, because there's been a lot of takes flying along amongst Twitter, all social media platforms, Facebook, wherever you go, about this entire thing happening. And let's just start off with Clay versus McDaniel, man, because I'm looking at that and everyone's like, oh, well, Clay grabbed McDaniel. I'm like, did he though? Like, it looked like he was like putting his arm on him just like to impede his motion towards the basket. And sometimes like, how like on defense, like you're just trying to put your hand on somebody, trying to box them out and whatnot, trying to feel what direction they're going. If I look at it, maybe he grabbed him. He did. But I'm just saying what I see. What Clay did not justify for McDaniel to then retaliate, grab Clay's arms with both hands, and then drag him across the floor, and then hold on to him as he's running up court. I'm like, what is happening over here? I think McDaniels took that a step too far in whatever was trying to unfold over there.
Well, I like that too. But go ahead.
The next thing I go to is then Rudy versus Clay. Because if I'm Clay, I would have decked you with an elbow right behind. You're coming right behind me, putting your arm around my neck. Yeah. Like, what do you expect to happen? And so I think Rudy was out of pocket for that. You're trying to grab him off your boy, grab the shoulders, do something. Not putting your freaking arm around somebody's neck. That's just insane. But then for Draymond, because I know Draymond is getting the brunt of this for what he did, and what he did, he went over the top, man. No doubt about it. He went over the top. But if I see an opponent grabbing my boy, of course I'm going to go in there and start. It looks like he's choking him out. Of course I'm going to hop in there and go pull him right off, as he should.
Listen, I assail Draymond as a dirty player all the time. Like, even the other day when he got kicked in the nuts, I thought it was sweet karma. I thought he was getting away with that for so many years. It was bound to happen. But look, I applaud him for this. His guy's in a little bit of a pickle. He's getting jumped by three wolves. So Draymond runs in like the Ultimate Warrior with the steel chair and all of that. And he's lashing onto him. He's got his bottom row of his teeth is all gritted. He's snarling out there. That was hilarious. I got to wonder how many games does Draymond get? Is it, I think if it was a regular guy, maybe that's one game. But I want to know, is the NBA so done with Draymond's theatrics? Do they throw the book at him? Like, when do they do that? I feel like former Commissioner David Stern would have been throwing the book at Draymond. He had this situation with Jordan Poole, knocked the daylights out of him, and the league never stepped in. I wonder what happens here.
See JJ saying we're sounding like Warriors fans.
No,
I don't see how we're sounding like Warriors. I'm just giving you my opinion, man. I'm just giving you my opinion on the matter.
Well, I thought it was I approved the action.
I think the other thing I gotta ask. I just gotta ask this: where was Cat in all this? Cat, you're just gonna let your guy?
What happened? Matter of fact, let me see. Gamma, do we have the Pat Beverly comment?
Oh, no, that's too flagrant, man. We can't throw that up there.
On Carl Anthony Towns. No, we need the Pat Beverly commentary on Carl Anthony Towns. Let me know if we have it. But Yeah. Well, what was Cat was trying to loosely get this. You got a pit bull on your guy. He's lockjawed on the guy. Pause. You got to step in.
Man was just allowing.
You just allowing your guy to get crushed.
Did anyone have Rudy's back?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Jamaica Queen says Pat was correct. Yeah, it's just nuts, man. It's just absolutely crazy. But the Draymond and Rudy Gobert beef, there's some history there, man. There's definitely some history. And shout out to Knicks Muse because Warriors Muse, because they had the whole history charted out from the beginning of their feud to now. There's some long buildup. Even when Gobert was on the Jazz and Draymond was on the Warriors, you had the Defensive Player of the Year snubs. You had Draymond dropping several subtweets about Rudy Gobert when Rudy Gobert was tight about not making the All-Star game. Draymond Green on the microphone saying, hey, we're not comparable in terms of being Defensive Players of the Year. So there seems like there's been some long-standing beef here. And like my guy Rob Perez said last night, it looked like Draymond couldn't wait for his moment.
You could tell.
He couldn't wait.
Could tell.
Yeah.
He was, first of all, the way that Draymond was looking while choking Rudy out, you could tell there was just some animosity there. And for the length too, man. For how long he was holding on, I was like, wow, you really got some bad blood. If you are really attacking Gobert like this, good Lord, man. Good Lord. But it's not comparable. One gets played off the floor in the playoffs. The other one, has 4 championships.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. But nevertheless, a game was still needed to be played in this. And as we said, no Stephen Curry in this one. He was ruled out with right knee soreness. Then you had obviously Draymond, Clay, and Gobert be ejected as well. So somebody had to step up. And for the Warriors, it was, Dario Saric, 6 of 15, 21 points from the field. Chris Paul chipped in with 15 himself. And then off the bench, man, you had Brandon Podziemski dropping 23 ducats on the Timberwolves, 9 of 18 from the field, 3 of 8 from downtown, 7 rebounds, 5 dimes. The point guard out of Santa Clara, man, the combo guard out of Santa Clara, he was electric in this game last night. And the Warriors had themselves a 12-point lead headed into the deep into the third quarter in the second half. But give credit to Minnesota. They clawed back. They had some good bench play from Shake Milton. Shake Milton had some solid moments in the third quarter. And then Karl-Anthony Towns really got into his bag, 33 points for Towns. And he's helped spark the comeback and ultimately the win. And the Wolves were able to get another one, man, 7 in a row. 8-2 on the campaign, 104-101. Ant-Man Anthony Edwards with 20 points, 7 of 16 shooting, 3-6 from downtown. Wolves keep it rolling, man. Wolves keep it rolling.
Yeah. Up until last night's game, CP, did you know that before yesterday's game, Steph Curry had doubled his closest teammate in scoring for the 5th time in the season? Did you know that? When he did play. That's according to ESPN. Also, the only other guy, because Steph is the only person to be averaging over 20 points. He's averaging 30 right now. He's the only guy to score 20 points this entire season. Nobody else has scored 20 points except for one other person, and that's once when Steph was on the floor. Do you know who that is?
I don't know who.
Dario Saric. Not even Klay Thompson.
I was going to say Klay. I was thinking Klay, but I was like, maybe that's too obvious.
Nope. Klay has not hit 20 this season yet. Wow. Warriors are in an interesting place, man, without Steph. But
yeah.
Hey, I like this rivalry, man. Can't wait for the playoffs.
I like it. And shout out to the Timberwolves. This was another game where, again, obviously there was no Dubs big 3, but another game on the road where you had to kind of get it out the mud at the end, and they did. They could have mailed it in. They were down by 12 in the second half, and they came back and got it. They got their 7th in a row. So 8-2 on the campaign for them. Strong start and an in-season tournament win for them. We're going to talk about in-season tournament standings close to the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. Shout out to Ty73 Al. $5 super chat says he choked the wee-wee out that man. So Our viewers never short on the French jokes. So shout out to Ty73. Shout out John Talento in here. Big ups to Ains D. Ark. He said, big up CP and Alex. Ains D. Ark, how you feeling? Christopher Blake in here, never misses a show. Let's go. All right, next game, Al. You had another one of these home, back, skip a day to back games between the Sixers and the Pacers. Sixers getting them in the first matchup. Tyrese Maxey dropping a 50-piece. But in the second matchup, it was Haliburton. It was Obi, Miles Turner, big game for Miles Turner, and the Pacers with a 132-126 clapback victory. This one for the in-season tournament bragging rights. And they get a big game. They got an outstanding game from Tyrese Haliburton. 33 points for Haliburton, 15 dimes, 2 steals, 11 of 18 from the field, 7 of 12 from downtown, bro. Obi Toppin, your boy, 27 points, 6 rebounds, 12 of 15 from the field for Obi. Like I said, I thought Miles Turner was pretty electric in this fourth quarter. 17 points, 5 of 11. 1 of 4 from downtown for Miles Turner. For the Sixers, you had Embiid with 39 and 12, Maxey 27, DeAndre Melton, great play, man, 30 points, 8 of 13 from the field, 4 of 6 from downtown. But Haliburton was a story here, man. Haliburton was once again the story. 15 rebounds, 33 points, 15 rebounds, and 15 assists, and 0 turnovers for Haliburton. He's had 32 assists over his last 2 games without a single turnover. The most in that stretch. The most in NBA history, man. Haliburton making history. Your thoughts?
It's insane, man. That's quite the production from your point guard to have that much scoring, plus that much facilitating through 2 games with 0 turnovers. I mean, this is kind of like what he was projected as coming out of college, coming out of Iowa, right? Is to be that facilitator, guy who likes to push the pace. We saw that in FIBA as well. That's why he was so good with that second unit. They like to get out there, run and gun. And that's just what this Pacers team is, man. And they did a good job this offseason just bringing in more players who fit his play style. You know, as Hayes was talking about how the Bulls haven't had a direction to go with Chicago and how do you build around Lavine by out there drafting like Kobe and everybody else. Pacers just seem to understand how they want to execute this after trading for Haliburton, and they keep bringing in guys that are all about running and gunning. And last night's show between the Pacers and the Sixers, it just was on full display. I mean, I like what Haliburton's game is. He makes it look very easy. He's looking to elevate everybody else around him to make the game even easier for himself. And when you have guys like Obi Toppin scoring 27 points, right? When you can find Miles Turner to add another 17, that makes the game easier for your star player, right? So Pacers got a good thing going on right now, man. Haliburton, man, just insane production right now, man. Is he a candidate for also most improved? Like, is that even possible for him? Because we know he was good when he was out in Sacramento. Like, and that's a question I got for you.
Certainly could be. I mean, if he's able to maintain this type of scoring output, I think anything is possible, man. But as you said, you know, with this team, I mean, he's tailor-made for the offense that Rick Carlisle is running out there. They run an electric pace. His vision, like, he may not be there. There may be better overall, like guards or combo guards, you know, as we move more positionless and just kind of put more combos and just focus on guards and forwards and bigs. But he's like the last great point guard left.
Pure. The last of a dying breed.
He's the last of a dying breed.
And that's the thing, right? Because, and we hear this amongst the fan, like when we cover the Knicks, man, is that we need a point guard, or like Brunson doesn't pass a lot, or like all this. But you look around the league, like who's really facilitating the way Haliburton's doing right now? Like as of right now, he's leading the league with 12.5 assists. You know, he's got a shooting split of 50, 40, 90 right now. All right. Yeah. Averaging close to 25 points per game. That's phenomenal work on his end.
That's phenomenal.
So, like, phenomenal. And that's through 10 games. Yeah. That's through 10 games for him. So I'm curious to see where the Pacers go, because when you look at this, right, you talk about they have one of the worst defenses in the NBA, but they were able to attack one of the top end defenses in the Philadelphia 76ers, right? And it's not like we look at the Philadelphia 76ers in this game, and it's like they didn't do anything, right? I mean, you still get 30. You still get, I'm not, sorry, not 30.
They had the lead.
Yeah, they had the lead, but I'm trying to look for the points. Why? What? Did this thing just switch up on me? Where is it? I'm trying to.
Well, they scored 40 in the third.
Right.
And they were outscored by 5 in the fourth. Indiana won by 5 in the fourth, 37-32.
There we go. Joel Embiid had 39 points. DeAnthony Melton had 30 points. Yeah. You had Maxey with 27, and you had Tobias Harris with 22. So it's not like, like we know the Pacers defense is bad, but Sixers were keeping pace. And so for the Pacers to show that, man, this is where I start to look at a team like this, and I still think you need good defense in order to make it through the playoffs. But Pacers right now, man, we saw that they were a good team last season before these offseason moves that they made.
Yeah.
I wonder if they've taken another jump, because Haliburton got injured last year. Is this a real deal thing? Can they maintain this type of pace throughout the regular season? Because it's on another level right now, man. They have the number one offense in the league. Can they maintain that type of pace?
Number one offense in the league. I think they have the talent to do it. I want to see Mathurin's got to get up to speed. We got to hope that this isn't a sophomore slump, and we got to hope that he can fit into the formula. They need Mathurin to get up to his potential or climb, keep on that ascension. But the way this team is built with the athleticism that they have, I love Obi running with this unit in this offense. I mean, just Obi's a prime example when you talk about Haliburton as a playmaker. Just look at how he gets Obi going.
Yeah.
Even in the half court, as opposed to how Obi was on the Knicks. I mean, that's the Haliburton effect. But I say that to say, I think overall, that from the roster standpoint, they have more than enough to make it to the playoffs. Now, it's their defense, I think, that will get them through, because you're not going to be able to outscore everybody. But, I mean, if you look at that fourth quarter of that game, he was running in the two-man game between he and Miles Turner. They were impactful there, getting Embiid off his spots, and Turner being able to draw fouls. You had Turner stepping out, knocking down a big three late in that game. Miles Turner was very big in crunch time, and Haliburton, the reason was because they were playing in that two-man game, and then they ran two of the same plays in that final stretch between Haliburton and Turner. One got Turner a layup, and the other one got him free throws. He got fouled. Then they ran it again on the opposite side. And what does Haliburton do? He finds Obi streaking down the baseline and throws a vicious alley-oop in which Obi catches it over Tyrese Maxey. I mean, those are some really clutch plays. And then in the end, Haliburton hits him with a step-back, sidestep, three-pointer, which was filthy in its own right, man. So great game by them. Really resilient game by them.
This is what you want to see for Obi Toppin, man. This is what you want to see for Obi. This is all I was asking for on the Knicks, man. Get this guy out in transition. He could be useful. He could help. I had people because look, sorry to go off on a Knicks tangent. We've seen some good passing from this team. And some said, hey, now we got the dogs to actually run some motion offense. I'm like, we've had the dogs. Okay. It's just implementing it for the dogs to actually run it. We had a guy last year to do it. But this is the thing that Obi needed. But he always needed a point guard, man. He always needed a point guard that was going to look for him and push out in transition.
Needed a point guard. We've been saying it since his rookie year. He needed a point guard to play with, and he has it with Haliburton and the best pure point guard in the league right now. 27 points for Obi, 6 rebounds, 12 of 15 from the field. And again, you look at the tape, most of them was Haliburton finding him in his spots, getting it out ahead to him in transition, and Obi finishing it from there. There was a lot made, especially from the Knicks standpoint last year. Macri made this point. We were in a group chat. Macri made a great point this morning. And it was that, Pacers utilize Obi in a similar way to the Knicks in that, remember when Knicks fans are like, he's always standing in the corner, right?
He's still in the corner.
Yeah, he's still in the corner. But now you have a point guard that can find him. Now you have a point guard that he can play off of, that can get him going, that can get him in his spots. So it's a little bit different. You're never just going to dump it down to him and say, go to work. That's not him. I mean, 80% of his field goal mades are still assisted. Like, you still have to get him going. It's still the same formula.
For sure.
But now it's just with a better point guard. And for Philly, look, the Philly was up late in this game. They had a chance to win it. I thought they just stumbled and bumbled to the finish line. You had both Embiid and Maxey got called for traveling violations. You had Embiid, who with seconds left on the shot clock took a ridiculous 50-foot three-pointer. Just wasn't crisp. Wasn't crisp for Philadelphia. And on the other hand, it seems like the Pacers had every answer for Philadelphia's attempts. And so that's where I thought things kind of went, why things went the way they did in the fourth quarter.
And this is kind of why I'm wondering if Indiana can maintain this type of production, man. I mean, they're 7-4 on the season, right? They got a good net rating, even with their porous defense that's in the bottom 5 of the league. They got a net rating of 3.5. That's just how good their offense is to offset their defense. But it just looks like, man, no matter. And I know it's 10 games. I know there's so much more of the season to go, but it just doesn't seem like that offense slows down ever. Like they're always able to average over 120 points, man. There's no easy feat. And so that's where I wonder, like, if they can keep up that production, and like I said, you still need a good defense. Is their offense just enough? Because we know teams go through slumps of they can't hit anything, but they're going to rely on defense.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're the Pacers and what your offense just seems pretty damn automatic, is that enough to actually say, you know what, defense doesn't matter to us? We'll just continue to run you out the gym because this thing won't slow down.
It'll work to a certain point, you know, it'll work to a certain extent, but there's going to come a point in time where you're going to have to get stops. And I think that's where all the hype will end with them until they get some serious wing defenders. I don't see them, you know, being able to sustain in the playoffs. They'll make it. You know, all you got to do is be top 10 to have a shot. So they'll make it. They'll make it there. But to get through, I don't think they'll have the defense necessary to get through.
What's crazy, CP, is that their offense, like, it's so high octane. They are 26th in the league when it comes to free throw attempts. They don't even take that many free throws, and yet they're still putting up over 120 points per game.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
That is impressive. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. If you guys are new in the chat, leave us a hashtag new, and we'll shout you guys out. Al, let's go to Denver. Where champs were hosting the 0-5 Clippers going into this game, 0-5 since the James Harden trade. Obviously, the story here is could the Clippers get off the snide and get themselves a victory? And the answer is no. Denver wins 111 to 108. Clippers go 0-6 in the James Harden era. You had Nikola Jokic, the Joker, 32 points, 16 rebounds, 9 assists for the Joker without Jamal Murray. Aaron Gordon chipped in with 20 points, 20 for Jordan, 18 for Reggie Jackson, 7 of 11 shooting, and you had Christian Brown off the bench with 10 points. For the Clips, you had Norman Powell, 14 off the bench. Harden himself, 21 points, 7 of 15 shooting, 4 dimes. Paul George, 35, 7, 3 assists and 3 steals. And Kawhi Leonard with 15 points, 5 of 14 from the field. All right, here's the big issue I have with this game, because this was another game that the Clippers could have won. Like, I'm not worried about the Clippers. They'll get it together. They will get it together. You know how far they'll go, that's another story. But they will get it together. They're not as bad as this looks. They're not as much of a train wreck as this looks. But to me, where this game really went awry was that. With let me take a look at here one more time, man. With about 5 minutes to go, they've got a 5-point lead, and they decide to go small against Jokic. And what is Mike Malone? Mike Malone said in the postgame, here's what we want to do. We wanted to punish them for that. Ty Lue, for whatever reason, he's got Zubac, and even to a lesser extent, he's got PJ Tucker, who is doing again, you can't stop the Joker. You could do a commendable job. That's probably the best you can do. Doing a commendable job against him. You have Zubac, who can match him with size. And Ty Lue decides to go small in crunch time, where all Jokic did was he gets a side pick and roll, he gets a mismatch, and he's trying to dominate in the post. He had Kawhi Leonard guarding him. he gets fouled. He's got Paul George guarding him. He scores. He's got Kawhi or Paul George trying to double him. He dumps it down to Aaron Gordon for an easy dunk. I mean, there were like 3 straight possessions where the Nuggets just used the same play to climb back into the game, and they never looked back. And I couldn't understand. It was at the 3-minute mark. I marked it off. The Clippers were up by 3. And from that point on, Denver, through those plays, took the lead, went on a 10-2 run, and never looked back in the game. Never looked back, bro. Your thoughts?
You say if you're the Clippers, you're not concerned. I am concerned. I don't know how you're not concerned about this, CP. I mean, I get that they got the talent, but you're telling me since the James Harden trade, they've lost to the Nets. Well, they lost to the Knicks. They've lost to the Nets. They lost to the Mavericks. They lost to the Grizzlies. They lost to the Nuggets. Okay, all different degrees of losses. I don't know how you're not concerned if you're the Clippers, because you lost to a Grizzlies team that doesn't even have John Morant, who's been struggling. Okay, struggling. This team only has 2 wins. You lose to the Grizzlies? Like, come on, man. And you got the talent. You lose to the Nuggets. They don't have Jamal Murray. They're down a superstar. I get they got Jokic. Jokic is an MVP caliber candidate, but you still had this one. You got the stars, man. You got the star power. You lose to the Mavericks. They haven't really beaten anybody yet. You lose to the Nets. You lose to the Nets.
I still feel like, again, they have enough talent, enough players between stars and role players to figure it out. They've got to figure out a way to make it work. I didn't feel like what Ty Lue did last night was putting them in the best position to win. Why would you go small ball against one of the most dominant big men in the game? What was the point of that? Like, what did you think was going to happen at that point where Denver, this is a hunting of mismatches type of game. Denver's looking for it. The Clippers are looking for it. And you gave them that to say, here you go, jump back into the game. To me, that was bad coaching on Ty Lue's part. Additionally, you had Paul George cooking in this game. 35 points for Paul George. Kawhi Leonard, I love him. You're chucking up shots in this game when you guys got it cooking. That's where they've got to be able to understand, read the room, understand who's got the hot hand, go to him, and sacrifice. This was supposed to be Paul George should have had the ball in his hands in crunch time. And I don't think they went to him nearly enough. Sacrifice,
CP? You got 4 stars, man. This is 4. You're asking for 4 stars now. You're asking for a new guy that just got thrown in there, James Harden, and everybody now sacrifice. How much? Sometimes, man, there's just too much star power, and you need some role players. And I think what we're going to watch with the Clippers is that they're going to have talent. They're going to be competitive, man. They're going to be fine to a degree. Like when you look at the end of the season, the win-loss record is going to be in their favor. They're going to be fine. But I just don't know how are you going to be able to move forward when guys who have typically not have had to sacrifice that much outside of Kawhi, because he was more of a role player on that Spurs team. Like PG, star on every team he's been on.
Yeah.
James Harden, outside of being the third option on OKC, has been a star wherever he's been. Same thing with Russell Westbrook outside of last season, and he didn't like it there. Another star, man. It's a lot to maintain. To add another guy to this, to do it midway through, I get there's got to be an adjustment period. I get all of that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You're asking now, saying, "Hey, wait a minute. Hey, PG, it's my turn to shoot. I haven't shot yet, and I need to keep staying rhythm because you're going to need me too." Like that's pretty difficult, man.
I thought Kawhi was out there chucking, man. You got to get PG back into the game and get him to rock. And then additionally, it was Brody who sat the bench in crunch time, and it's going to have to come down between Brody and Harden. We addressed this question on Monday. For one of the reasons why I say that is because I need Terrence Mann to be finishing these games. Because when you talk about the sacrifice or who's going to dial it back for whom, you don't have to worry about that with Terrence Mann. He already knows his role. And he's going to be the guy. He's going to be a connector. He's going to be a guy that's going to get it out the mud and do the dirty work for you. You need Terrence Mann closing those games. So you figured out between Russ and Harden what you need. You give Harden more with the bench unit so he could run his system, let the system be the system. And then in crunch time, I got to go to who's hot right now and play off of that. I didn't think they did a good job of that. And then on top of that, they compounded the issue by feeding the Joker a mismatch, and they just destroyed it for 3-4 straight possessions. That was the game. They had a chance.
They did have a chance, man. They had a chance, but I want to read this to you, CP. Clippers 3-1. They had the best net rating to start the season in the NBA. Best net rating.
Mm-hmm.
After the Harden trade, 0-6. 29th net rating in the league.
Yeah.
Look, I said it just now. Sometimes you need more role players. You don't need all that star power. Harden's got to go to the bench, man. I mean, he's got to get in game shape. This is the first time he's playing this season. So. You just got to move him to the bench if I'm Ty Lue. There's no way you keep running him out there. And you just see the rotation. It's just so cluttered, man. It's nasty. Like you're just waiting. And, you had Ty Lue with the comment saying, stop being polite to James Harden. All right, well, he wasn't polite, but now you got to wait a minute.
Yeah.
Now the rock's not being shared enough. It's not moving around as much. This has just been a wrench for the Clippers, man. This is where you needed these guys to have a full-on offseason together, and they didn't have it. So now you're in this, now we got to catch up mode, right? Now we got to catch up. Now we got to figure out how we're going to get everyone involved, how everything's going to work. And that's not where you need to be right now in a competitive Western Conference. Do they have the talent? Like I said, yes, they do have the talent. They should be able to figure all this stuff out. But it's just you're going to have a lot to figure out right now and how everyone's role is going to fit. And if you're even thinking that, hey, we're going to, I don't know, come back to the idea of James Harden entering the starting rotation. If he does make that change, hopefully he does make that change, man, because if not, I think we're just going to continue to see the same thing over and over. And you're losing winnable games, man. You're losing winnable games. You should not lose. You had the ability to beat the Nuggets last night. You lose to a terrible Memphis team. You lose it to a Mavericks team that we went through it with Andrew on the other show, man. They haven't really beaten anybody. The Clippers are more of a somebody than the Mavericks should be right now. Granted, Luka is hot, man, to start the season, and you got Kyrie on that team, but I don't think they're a deep and well-rounded team to still compete and at the high level that they're doing right now. And then what else? You lose to a Nets team? The Nets are okay. They're fine, average team, but you're losing to them. I get that it's still early, but you still have the star power to go beat Mikal Bridges and company out in Brooklyn. That's just me. That's just me, though.
They got to get it together, man, and I think they will. All right, let's run through these next two rapid fire. You got OKC and San Antonio. Battle of the future between Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama meeting again in an in-season tournament matchup. In OKC, I like their in-season tournament jerseys and court, and I like that team. SGA, 28 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 7 steals for SGA in OKC's 123-87 rout over the Spurs. You had Josh Giddey. How good of a player is Josh Giddey, man? 18 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 7 of 11 from the field. Makes it look so easy out there. And for the Spurs, look, for Wemby, it was a bad night at the office, 4-15 from the field, 8 points, 14 boards, 5 turnovers for him. The Spurs looked very much like a young, bad team, just throwing the ball all over the place, forcing bad shots, not really getting good offense into rhythm. And OKC was rolling last night, man. OKC's rolling.
The last thing I want to say, Steve, before I get on this is that last thing on the Clippers, Kawhi had a 27.6 usage before James Harden arrived there. He is now and he was number 1 on the team with usage. He is now dropped 4 spots to being the 4th, I should say, 22.1. That's the last thing I want to say. So got to get Kawhi back more involved. With OKC, I mean, this is a together team, right? You just bring Chet back. That's all they needed. They're fine. And this is the Spurs, man. They're a young team. They're going to have their ups. They're going to have their downs. It's going to look like everything's clicking, which says, oh, man, this future is bright. Wait until they're seasoned. Wait until they get the years of experience under them. This could be a competitive and dangerous team. And then you're going to have nights like this where it's like they're young. They're inexperienced. They don't really know everyone's just trying to figure it out. You have nights where Wemby looks great, and you have nights where Wemby just looks average just because he's still adapting to the NBA. He's still adapting to the NBA game itself. So I'm not surprised that they got routed, man. It's kind of been the story for the Spurs so far. Look, they got routed by the Pacers dropped 150 on them not too long ago. So, and look, the Knicks also routed them as well, made it look easy. Wemby could even score that well, right? Mitch made him look like a little kid. This is just what the Spurs are, man. So OKC, they should be doing this. Most teams should be doing this against San Antonio, just because of their youth. But for OKC, this is what you want to see, man, because one, you talk about getting position in the in-season tournament standings. Two, it adds to what you need to see from them from a competitive standpoint as to when it gets to the playoffs later down the line. So OKC, man, looking like a good team, man. I like what they got going on there.
They look good, man. 34 assists last night, 19 steals, and they had 23 points off of turnovers, 31 fast break points for the OKC Thunder. So seems like they were the only one playing last night, and the Spurs need a lot of work, but things are coming together between Chet being kind of that missing piece that they've needed, Jalen Williams adding that scoring punch, and Josh Giddey he just makes the offense look so easy sometimes out there. I love the way that he plays the game, and then you have SGA kind of bringing it all together. So they're looking good, 7-4 right now in the campaign. Good for them, and they get another win. They get another win.
Do you think for OKC, do you move Chet to the 4 at some point and actually get a traditional big? Because I feel like with his stature, man, just kind of what we see with Wemby, he's going to get pushed around. Like you look at guys like he's not going to, like, we already saw him against Jokic. It's going to be damn near impossible. You think about any other big, it's going to be tough for Chet to actually defend.
Yeah, I think that could be the case for both of those guys in terms of finding a big that can kind of be the enforcer for them and do the dirty work, because both of them are built so slim.
Well, that's why the Spurs have Zach Collins. That's why they put Zach Collins back out there. But for OKC, you got Chet out there at the 5. That's I like the idea of a stretch big, but it's a little tough, man. Even when you have Dirk, like think about Dirk on the Mavericks back in the day, right? They wanted Tyson out there to be that center while he was more of the stretch 4.
Right. Yeah. No, I think you will see that. But so far, it's rolling for them, man. And speaking of rolling, let's talk about these Clippers, Lakers and Grizzlies, man. In-season tournament matchup. You had Lakers win this one 134-107, led by D'Angelo Russell. Of all people, man. D'Lo with 24 points, 5 assists for the Lake Show. LeBron with a quiet night, 16, 9, and 6 dimes. And AD would chip in with 19, 11, and 5. Memphis goes to 2-9. Lakers 6-5. Now, what'd you think about this one?
Lakers should have won this one, as they did. So not really. Memphis is just a sad team, man. They're so sad without Ja Morant. They we're seeing it. We thought Marcus Smart could hold down the fort. I think he got injured. Didn't he get injured? So I think he might be injured after last night's game. I think I saw that somewhere out there. But other than that, this game it should have been for LA. I mean, I just wonder if you're the Grizzlies right now, like what's your direction moving forward? Because you're so far behind the 8 ball before Ja gets back, and it doesn't look like they're going to be anywhere in position to compete. And not having Steven Adams too as like your big man out there, that's tough as well. So I don't know what maybe Grizzly Nation's got to think about the tank this year. Maybe you don't even even Ja's when he comes back, you think about, is it really worth throwing him out there and trying to compete right now? Or do you just say, hey, I know it's still early in the season, but 2-8's tough. Like, that's tough.
It's tough to come back from, and it just shows you how important he was to that team. I mean, yes, in the past, they've had their stretches where you say, okay, yeah, they did well without him, but they also had Dylan Brooks. They also had Steven Adams, and it's a completely different year. Every year is different. But this year, it's not the same. Brooks is gone. Adams is injured, and they don't have Ja. So, they've got a lot of soul searching to do. They're not a talented team. That's just the point blank period. Like, without Ja and without Steven Adams cleaning up their mistakes, just like Mitchell Robinson does for the Knicks, they're just not a talented team right now. So their record is what it is. It's exactly what this team is, and that's not very good. Not very
so Marcus Smart did get injured.
Yeah.
He went back to the locker room last night. I'm still looking for the update on what the injury is. But ankle injury. Injured his ankle. There we go. So if you don't have Marcus Smart now, that's just more talent you're losing. And yikes. Man. I think you go for the tank. You're like, you know what? Let's add more talent this offseason, you know?
Yeah.
And you think about next year because 2-8 is just tough to come back from.
And then you did have a little drama in this game too, man. You had Anthony Davis and Santi Aldama getting into it in the first quarter. So,
oh boy,
yeah,
that's the name I want to hear, Santi Aldama.
You had a little action going on. So the in-season tournament, maybe it's just the fire, it's just the passion that the NBA wants from their players in the new tournament. This thing is selling like hotcakes right now. I was very entertained last night.
Is the NBA are the new in-season tournament courts actually psychologically hurting the players and forcing them to get into fights?
Maybe it's stirring up some aggression. Maybe it's stirring up some aggression, man. I don't know. I do not know. Let's take a look at the standings, Al. Let's take a look at the in-season tournament standings here and see how things are shaking out. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Let's pull up the standings. Okay, here we go. So in East Group A, you have Indiana ahead of the pack right now. They're at 2-0. But Philly, they're at 1-1. But, you know, the points total, Phillies can still be there. So that one is kind of tight. That one's kind of tight. The Hawks haven't played. They've only played one game, so you got to give the Hawks a chance. Also, Cleveland will be playing another one soon. Detroit, you have to factor, is going to be out. East Group B, right now you got Miami at 2-0. You got Milwaukee at 1-0. They'll be playing their game soon. The Knicks 0-1. They're going to be in Washington on Friday, looking to get on the winning side of things. Knicks also got to catch up in the points total area, so we'll see what happens. They need a big win over the Wizards on Friday. East Group C, you got Boston at 1-0. Brooklyn at 2-1. So the Nets have already played 3 in-season tournament games. They'll have one more left. And Chicago, Orlando at 0-1, and Toronto needs to get on the board. Then on West Group A, you have the Lakers at 2-0. You have the Utah Jazz at 2-0 as well. So right there, right behind the Lake Show. And then you have Portland 1-1, Phoenix 0-1. They'll be playing soon. And then Memphis, you can figure that they're out. West Group B, you got the Rocket. You have the Nuggets at 2-0. Houston at 1-0. You have New Orleans at 1-1, Dallas at 1-2, and the Clippers at 0-2. So West Group B could be interesting. Have Minnesota at 2-0, Sacktown at 1-0, Golden State 1-1, OKC 1-2, and Spurs at 0-2. What's your thoughts so far, man?
I think there still needs to be more done for the in-season tournament. I still think it's too early to get a full-on gauge because it just feels like regular games right now.
Yeah.
Amongst teams, I mean, they count towards regular season standings, but the only thing that's different is that the courts, man, nothing really has changed yet. So I think once we get to the knockout round and we see the elimination rounds, then we'll get a better sense of how the in-season tournament fares. But they're just regular season games to me right now, man. I think the NBA had it. I think, it's year one. There's still a lot to figure out. Nothing ever works successfully in year one, whatever you point out and throw out there, right? You need to go through, you need to actually see it play out, come back, strategize and say, how do we improve this to make it stand out even more and make it more appealing, especially if you're trying to garner more interest in media rights deals and say, hey, we're offering this package as well and trying to sell this portion of the NBA season to some other group. But as of right now, man, it just feels like regular season games. It's just the course that look different to me. And, but I think we've just seen just the same amount of competition. There's nothing really that has changed. Yeah. So to me, it's just a TBD. The standings, I mean, if it was to end today, for the East, it's Indy, Miami, Boston that are out there. And then I think you get 2 more teams from each And then you get you get Lakers, Denver, Minnesota, and then the last two teams are whoever's like the best.
Mm-hmm.
Still won't even know. Let's see I gotta look through that real quick. Who would be the next? So I guess Brooklyn would be the one because their point standing would be, and then the other one would be Utah. So they're your 8 teams. I mean, that's interesting, I guess.
Yeah,
but...
yeah. Not the most get your popcorn ready. Not the most.
Not really flying through. Not really flying out to Vegas to say, "Oh yeah, let me go watch Brooklyn and Indy go take on the championship cup right there."
Yeah, absolutely, man. So again, we'll see how it goes. But last night was certainly entertaining. Now, well, as we were getting ready to come on the show, man, we got hit with some breaking news. We come on the NBA report to, talk about some of the positive things around the league and laugh at other people's teams that are doing worse than our Knicks. But then we get the news break that Action Jackson, mama, there goes that man, Mark Jackson, who was
mama, there goes that man is right for this incident.
Right. Who was reportedly hired by the Knicks to be a sub for Mark Jackson. For Clyde Frazier. He was unceremoniously fired from ESPN. So we're thinking the Jackson Hive is back, right? Mark Jackson's back. Jackson Hive is alive and well. Mark Jackson coming back to MSG Networks. The Jackson Hive conspiracy theorists we're saying, hey, maybe this is one step closer to coming back to the bench. We'll get Tibbs out of here. This is what we need. But now we hear that it's not going to happen because according to Andrew Marchand of the New York Post, Mark Jackson was essentially fired by Leon Rose and the Knicks and banned from the team playing in part due to an old quarrel with Jackson and an assistant coach. The assistant coach is Dave Erman. Dave Erman worked for the Jackson coaching staff early 2000s for the Warriors. He was fired by the Warriors for allegedly recording the coaching staff and the players. And now this. And a lot of people speculated that part of, the narrative around Mark Jackson, his religious views, the toxic environment that was going around the Warriors, part of that was, Dave Herman and the recording situation. So now he's out. What the hell happened here?
Oh, that was short-lived.
The shortest career in Knicks history. Action Jackson out of there.
Where's Homer's father walking into the barn, walking out, taking that hat? That's what you need right in and out, because that's what that was. But hey, we don't have it's not a lot of information to see like what went on here, but obviously since the assistant coach was with him out in Golden State, it had to have been bad enough where, for the work environment through Leon Rose's eyes, it's like, look, we don't need any of this. Let's keep it away. And that's what this team has been, right? They haven't really gone for players that have brought drama. They haven't really gone for people who have caused a lot of drama. Although you can look at Rosas for the reasons why he got fired, but out in Minnesota. But you can see that there's been lack thereof in the Knicks organization since under Leon Rose. So I'm guessing that he just didn't want anything close to that, and to make a work environment that is safe for the assistant coach. So I don't know, but that's all my speculation based on what we have. There's not really enough information for me to say why, if it was right or wrong or anything of that nature, but short-lived, man. I would like to hear Jackson on the broadcast in replace of Clyde, man, because Clyde's getting up there in age. You need somebody else to replace him soon. You bring in like a former Knick. He was great with Van Gundy and Breen for ESPN. I thought that would have been a really good addition for MSG, man. Yeah,
they should have never broke them up. But I was sitting here waiting. We were 8 games into the season. I'm sitting here waiting like this is kind of a big deal. Mark Jackson come back. You still haven't heard from him yet.
Mm-hmm.
My guy Gus Johnson's back. Gus Johnson's going to be calling the game against the Hawks tonight. I'm happy about that.
For sure.
But according to Marchand, Mark was supposed to be the color commentator for this road trip, this 5-game trip.
Yep.
So I'm wondering, first and foremost, for the article to say he's banned from the team plane, that makes me think something popped off on that plane on the way to Boston or something. Something happened, right? Like, we hear firings all the time, but specifically to be banned from the team plane, to put that element in there, I don't know, man. That means something popped off on that plane for Leon Rose to be like, you know what? We can't have this, because how would you make the decision to bring him in? You knew his enemy was already on the coaching staff. I mean, the way, if you look into the details of the way Dave Erman got fired from the Warriors for the videotaping scandal, the reason he allegedly why he put the video recording in the locker room was because he was paranoid that Mark Jackson was talking about him behind his back.
Mm-hmm.
So if both sides knew that this guy's here on Tibbs' coaching staff, how was the decision even made to hire Mark Jackson? And then on top of that, it's like, well, how did you figure he was going to get to Boston? How did you figure he's going to get to Minnesota? Like, well, what's he going to
got him an Amtrak ticket for Mark Jackson right here?
Like, is Mark Jackson going to take an Uber, a Peter Pan bus? Like, he's going to jump on a plane. So
no, he's going to take the dollar bus, man. He's going to take the mega bus.
Right. He's going to take a mega bus. So now all of a sudden he jumps on the plane. The coach is on the plane. And now we realize that they've got beef and we can't have it. I don't know. Funny stuff, but I give credit to the Knicks for putting it to bed early so it doesn't get out of hand, man.
I mean, yeah, for sure. What was said, man? Because that's
I don't know. But all I can tell you is this, man. If I were to tell the 8-year-old me, Knicks fan me, that one day they were going to toss Oakley out of there like Jazzy Jeff, Ewing can't get through the door because he don't got proper credentials.
Oh, God.
Spike can't get to his seats. A 30-year season ticket holder, hundreds of thousands of dollars. He can't get to his seats because he can't get through the right door. And now you got Mark Jackson, the hometown kid. He's banned from the team plane and fired on his day off. You can't make it up.
And don't forget, you got to tell your 8-year-old self, hey, I can't bring my tripod to record games anymore.
And do it. You just can't do it. So, look, man, it's a good thing that these things are now small potatoes in the life of a Knicks fan compared to yesteryear, but still funny to talk about nevertheless, man.
I wonder what that conversation between Erman and Jackson went down. Hey, remember when you got me fired for playing that place?
Remember when you were a snitch in the locker room?
Hey, yeah, F you, man. Get off this plane.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. We still got the rats sitting around here.
Can you imagine? We're going to set up another camera as you broadcast the game just to make sure you ain't talking around my back on camera.
Yeah. Unreal, man. Unreal. So the Jackson era is over again. The shortest tenure in Knicks history.
Who's next?
Mama, there goes that man. Right. Who's next? I mean, who's left to be embarrassed? What are they going to do to Carmelo next time he's in the Garden?
Oh, no.
We can't do
that. We can't do that now. We can't do that.
Let them disrespect my guy number 7, man, because that's going to be a whole nother story. We got to protect Carmelo.
But who are they going to have call games? Who's going to replace Clyde now? Like, who's the next? Because that's supposed to be the thing. Who is the next player that they were going to bring in? It was supposed to be Mark Jackson to be that next guy to call. Who's the next guy? Who?
Might be JD. Maybe it's JD.
I mean, JD would be a great option.
Yeah, maybe it's what I mean. Right now, it's Wiley.
But he's JD Breen, man. So he would have to replace Breen, though. So I'm saying, who would be the player?
I would. I'd sign Derek Harper from the Mavericks.
Derek Harper, that's a great option.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a great option.
I'd sign Derek Harper. Bring Harper back home, even though Dallas is his home. Who cares about them? Bring him to home. Bring him to New York. Harper wants to be back. He's a friend of the program. He rocks with us.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
We have Gamba saying, bring J.R. Smith in to call games.
Oh, God, no.
Also, TM says, no, we can't lose JD. We own rights to match JD's contracts. Right. Oh, man. I can only imagine J.R. Smith calling games.
Never a dull moment in Knicks land, man. But
JR, put on your shirt, man. We're here broadcasting. What are you doing?
Great show, Al. Great show to all the mods. Great show, TM. Great show, Gamba. Shout out to Tyler. Shout out to everybody who puts the show together, man. Salute to our guy Hayes. Salute to our guy Hayes, Chicago Bulls Central, for tapping in. Great show. We'll be back on Friday. Recapping. We'll have another great guest. Make sure you guys keep it locked. Remember that this show is available in audio podcast format, so never have a reason to miss it. You can catch us on all the major podcast platforms, and also just support the show. Like, share, subscribe, and continue to rock with the NBA Report, man. Number one show for the fans by the fans. I'll see you tonight. Knicks Hawks. And for those of you at home, have a great night, man. Peace.